Come with me to the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, Texas, as we explore the fragmented but very rich history of the world's game in that very stadium, one of the most iconic stadiums in the history of American sports. Built in 1930 for the State Fair of Texas and football, soccer was never meant to be in the plans of the history of the Cotton Bowl, but it keeps finding its way back. From those World Cup nights to the very early days of Major League Soccer, and now 20 years later, soccer is back as a permanent resident in the Cotton Bowl. And the Dallas Trinity have planted their flag right here in the heart of Dallas. Now the Cotton Bowl here in Dallas hosted 6 matches at the World Cup, including a quarterfinal that is quite possibly the best game in the history of the World Cup between the Netherlands and Brazil. A 3-2 thriller filled with drama, goals, and memories that will last a lifetime in this building. Between the Brazilian flair that dazzled the crowd in Dallas that led to a couple Brazilian dance moves, or the Dutch resilience that got them back into that game before Brazil ultimately won the day and won the tournament in 1994, the impact of that 94 World Cup on the United States was far more than economic. It changed the culture of the sport in the country, and 32 years later, you can hear the impact. With the success of the 1994 World Cup, Major League Soccer started in 1996, and Dallas was awarded one of the original franchises, and they named them the Dallas Burn. And for the first few years of their existence, they played right here in the Cotton Bowl. Hey, we know that guy. MLS used to look a lot different than it does today. This game, in the Cotton Bowl, April 14th, 1996, the Dallas Burn played the San Jose Clash in front of almost 28,000 people. It wasn't a soccer-specific stadium like they have now in Frisco, but it gave the league legitimacy in a football town dominated by the Dallas Cowboys. Fast forward to the mid-2000s, and after almost a decade of calling the Cotton Bowl home, FC Dallas, who had already ditched the name The Burn, decided to make the 35-minute drive to the north, and they moved to Frisco. I have 50 minutes on the map I pulled up just because I'm cheap and don't want to pay the toll, but when you build a brand new soccer-specific stadium and call it Pizza Hut Park, by the way, Pizza Hut Park, better name than Toyota Stadium, but capitalism ultimately decides what your stadium is called. But did you know that the Dallas Burn, now FC Dallas, was not the first team of a professional status to occupy this stadium?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the world, the Dallas Tornado. You are looking down on a scene that marks a bold new chapter in American sport. The Tornado, a team of young internationals ready to bring the beautiful game of soccer to these shores with skill, speed, and determination.
And let me introduce you to the NASL's Dallas Tornado. The truth is, soccer has been testing this stadium for decades, even back in 1967 and 1968, when the Dallas Tornado played here. Owned by Lamar Hunt, yes, that Lamar Hunt, shout out to the Open Cup, shout out to the Cup sets, long live USL. Alright, that's enough. The defending NASL champions moved full-time to Texas Stadium in 1972, and were roommates, more like tenants, of the Dallas Cowboys. So even back then, soccer teams in Dallas were chasing venues, looking for bigger opportunities and better conditions to survive in a football-crazy city. So fast forward to today. Dallas Trinity is in their second year here in the Cotton Bowl. In 2025, the Trinity were one of the 8 inaugural teams to take the field for the Gainbridge Super League season. And they introduced me to my new friend Boots. Boots! Hey! High five for Dallas Trinity. There we go. And we had the opportunity to sit down and ask a Texas Longhorn graduate, one of the best players in the history of their program, and current Dallas Trinity player about what it's like to have soccer back in such an iconic venue in Dallas.
It's pretty electric, and I think it's pretty special being the first women's professional team, especially in soccer. It feels nice having a community, especially with it being close to home. Just the diverse culture and the atmosphere is insane. It's second to none.
But they are getting a roommate next year. Atlético Dallas is doing a USL Championship. They're going to play right here. And I interviewed Sam Morton and Matt Valentine, the co-founders of the club, about their vision for the Cotton Bowl, and they gave me a very interesting answer. To be able to play there, to be able to be in the heart of Dallas, what has that meant to you to get the to get the opportunity to play there?
Yeah, I mean, look, it gives me goosebumps. I mean, Sam and I went to the World Cup there together in '94.
Yeah.
In '94, I went to every game here. We went to the Brazil-Holland. It was the best game of that tournament, the quarterfinals. You know, we are going to do things to make it intimate.
Yeah.
And, you know, I know there's skeptics out there, but there are things we can do. We can bring in seats behind a goal. We can make it feel tighter. We can close off the goals behind the goals. We close off upper deck. You close off underneath the awnings, and you can shrink it to, 14, 15, 18, 20,000 seats.
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, Atletico can learn a thing or two about the Dallas Trinity's ways at the Cotton Bowl. The Gainbridge Super League side has pulled points from 19 of their first 25 matches ever at home, earning 11 wins in just a year and a half of existence. And it just so happens I have a quote from star striker Allie Thornton about what makes playing in the Cotton Bowl so much fun for them and so difficult for the opponents.
So, I mean, you walk through the tunnel and the place is huge, like I can see how that would be intimidating for someone who maybe isn't as comfortable playing here as we are. But I think just the atmosphere that our fans provide and, just the general energy that the stadium brings, I do think it makes it tough for opponents to come in here.
In this clip, I was explaining that the Dallas Trinity set the record for the largest attended sporting event in women's professional sports history in the state of Texas. However, it is unusable because it is trash. It is so loud down there, with the PA announcer, the crowd, the field is just a mess. So back to video essay mode. In October of 2025, the Dallas Trinity hosted Club América and drew 22,838 fans to the Cotton Bowl, a new record for a women's professional sporting event in the history of the state of Texas. And it leans back into the theme of the video. If you give this city an opportunity to support high-level professional soccer, they're going to show up, and they will continue showing up time and time again, generation after generation. And as the Trinity have been very worthy tenants of this place, the thing that continued to stick out to me after the match was the fact that they are an inspiration for the next generation of kids who want to grow up and play soccer in the city of Dallas. As I walk through this place one final time, I'm reminded of the history and what this place was actually built for, which is American football. And football continues to be played here. The universities of Texas and Oklahoma have met here for 95 consecutive seasons. And thankfully, neither of them have mentioned an intent to stop that tradition. The stadium used to host the postseason college football game of the same name, the Cotton Bowl, before that was moved to AT&T Stadium. But as always in the city of Dallas, it comes back to the Cowboys. They built AT&T, they built Texas Stadium, but before that, they played 12 seasons in the Cotton Bowl through the 1960s into 1971. And lastly, this place hosted the National Hockey League. Don't ask me how that's possible or why there's a team in Dallas or their opponent playing in Nashville. Those aren't cold weather places, but nevertheless, hockey has been played here too. The Stars beat the Predators 4-2 in 2020. And then, of course, soccer. A fragmented history of soccer, but soccer indeed. As I make my way back to the car, I'm filled with gratitude that a place like this can be so wonderful and show that if you give a city that loves this game the opportunity to experience it, it will make permanent roots. And that's exactly what the Dallas Trinity have done. That's what Atletico will do next year, is what the Dallas Burn proved to us after the '94 World Cup, and it's still 30 years later happening in this very city. So thank you so much to the Dallas Trinity hospitality staff and the comm staff for helping us set this up. It's just proof, man. You can build it for football, but if soccer is in your city, it's inevitable that it's going to make a permanent stance. And we see Arlington, Texas has more World Cup matches than any other city in 2026, and it's because of what the groundwork of this place was able to do. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to GOLZ TV, and we'll see you with another one of these very soon. One more thing, did not know where to put this in the video. This is the Premier League club Fulham's mascot. It's a badger. I don't know why it was at a Super League game, but there you go. All right, thanks for watching.